un-American.
The people caught in sudden chaos. Where do Canadians stand? Is Trump giving extremist groups exactly what they want? As Canada flings its arms wide open, business could get a bonus. Plus, for thousands of New Brunswick families, there's no relent from a winter nightmare. In his creation of Fortress America, President Donald Trump isn't building any bridges. Today, reaction to his immigration ban has been swift, certain, and by far scathing. His executive order targets certain Muslim countries, but it's brought anger and chaos around the world. Travelers have been barred from flights and detained for hours. There have been protests from Boston to Boise. And there's a backlash from world leaders and within Trump's own party. As for the man at the center of this storm, today in a statement he said, "This is about keeping our country safe." We have extensive coverage tonight, beginning in the U.S. Capitol. The CBC's Paul Hunter is in Washington. Paul?
Wendy, Donald Trump may believe he's keeping America safe, but tonight he's also keeping many in America frightened, enraged, and determined to shut him down.
We will not go away! Welcome to your 9th day!
On Pennsylvania Avenue, within shouting distance of Donald Trump and the White House,
No hate, no fear!
They were angry, loud, and insistent.
Refugees are welcome here, no hate!
It's time for it to stop, and it's time for the Trump administration to start listening to the people.
What message do you think his actions this weekend send to the world?
That it's okay to hate, and that's not something that's okay.
And as the crowd grew in D.C., the fury spread across America into the tens of thousands. In Boston, in New York,
What do we do?
in Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Dallas, and beyond. Impromptu demonstrations, not weeks in the planning, but hours, against Trump's executive order blocking entry to America for refugees and travelers from Syria and 6 other, mostly Muslim countries. This protest is in Raleigh, North Carolina.
This is unacceptable. This is very unjust. This is not the America that we think of. This is not the America that we really like and that we really want.
And are inflicting wounds.
In New York, Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer cried in demanding Trump rescind the order.
This executive order was mean-spirited and un-American.
But the White House was having none of it, underlining Trump's order is in the name of national security.
If they're folks that shouldn't be in this country, they're going to be detained. And so apologize for nothing here.
And on the notion it's an outright ban on Muslims.
These 7 countries, what about the 46 majority Muslim countries that are not included? Right there, it totally undercuts this nonsense that this is a Muslim ban.
Trump said today that when new, more secure policies are enacted, U.S. travel visas for those 7 countries will be restarted. And when 2 Republican senators, Lindsey Graham and John McCain, today labeled Trump's orders, in their word, a self-inflicted wound, Trump tweeted, senators should focus their energies on ISIS, illegal immigration, and border security instead of always looking to start World War III.
Yes, we can!
But at airports throughout America, confusion still reigns. At Dulles Airport, outside Washington, this lawmaker said he was trying to get answers from U.S. Customs and Border Patrol.
I had a legal permanent resident detained last night who's my constituent. And it took forever he finally received a waiver. He's 71 with a heart condition. And he was denied legal representation until the very end.
Meanwhile, federal judges in a handful of states have blocked authorities from deporting some of those new arrivals caught up in Trump's order.
Let them in!
Regardless, back in D.C., that rally continued, with protesters eventually marching off away from the White House toward Capitol Hill and approaching en route the new Trump Hotel, where for a moment the chanting turned to something else. And say the protesters, Wendy, they'll be back often.
So, Paul, he campaigned on this issue. Why should we be surprised?
Absolutely, he campaigned on this, and so neither Americans nor anyone else should be surprised. He said what he would do time and again on the campaign trail if elected, and then Americans went out and elected him. Yes, he was outvoted nationally, but he won the states he needed to win for the White House. It's not a stretch to imagine among the many out demonstrating in this country today, some who, for whatever reason in those states, stayed home on election night. And now, here we are.
Thanks so much, Paul. Paul Hunter in Washington tonight. Tens of thousands of Canadians share citizenship with countries on the president's ban list. Late yesterday, the U.S. State Department confirmed those people will not be affected. But there are thousands more in this country who could have trouble. According to the most recent numbers, 75,000 people in Canada are from the 7 countries and don't have dual citizenship. The most, nearly 37,000, came from Iran. Another 19,000 are from Iraq, and just over 5,000 are Syrian. Of course, these numbers were compiled 4 years before Canada's commitment to resettle thousands of Syrian refugees. As for the other 4 countries, Somalia, Sudan, Libya, and Yemen, just over 13,000 came from one of them. It wasn't just travelers caught off guard by the ban. Canadian officials were too. The new policy has been a source of confusion on this side of the border, and today the federal government tried to clear that up. Our Katie Simpson has more.
For more than 36 hours, Canada's top immigration and security officials have been urgently seeking information about the new U.S. policy. And late today, the minister in charge was finally in a position to offer some clarity to the public.
Canadian citizens, including those with dual citizenship from one of the 7 countries and Canadian permanent residents, are not affected by the executive order.
Ahmed Hussein also promised to grant temporary residency to travelers who get stranded in Canada because of the U.S. policy change, a change that took Canada's national security advisor by surprise. Daniel Jean said he wasn't given a heads up by the Trump administration about the new regulations.
And therefore, we didn't have any chance to have conversations on that before. I don't think they saw the consequences.
The Prime Minister, who was in Vancouver to celebrate the Lunar New Year, avoided questions from the media today. But he did speak with Canada's premiers to emphasize the steps his government is taking to manage the Canada-U.S. relationship. CBC News has learned during that call there was no disagreement among provincial leaders as Trudeau explained how his government is dealing with the new administration. The Prime Minister has avoided criticizing the U.S. while making it clear Canadian values differ from Trump's. He did just that yesterday with this tweet that got the world's attention. And premiers, including Alberta's Rachel Notley and Saskatchewan's Brad Wall, followed suit, while BC's Christy Clark spoke up today.
We believe that people who are seeking refuge around the world should be able to find safe haven here in our province.
The issue will come up as MPs return to Ottawa tomorrow. The government says it is open to the NDP's idea of having an emergency debate on the subject.
So we want to have that debate. We want Canada to stand up and reaffirm our values and principles of openness and tolerance and in solidarity.
This is the second time the Canadian government has been caught off guard by a Trump announcement. It happened last Tuesday with the Keystone XL pipeline and now with the travel ban. Some worry this is what the new Canada-U.S. relationship is going to look like for the next 4 years. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
As we mentioned earlier, Donald Trump's executive order has already been challenged in court. Injunctions now give detained travelers access to lawyers, protection from deportation. In the U.S., the legal fight against Trump's order is on. Here's a look at how it's shaping up.
Lee, why don't you tell us what the judge granted and what you asked for?
For opponents of the order, courtesy of a Brooklyn federal court, this looks like a victory.
Which was to block the Trump order and not allow the government to remove anybody who's come and is caught up in the order nationwide.
Courts in Virginia, Washington State, and Massachusetts also reined in the executive order. But these court injunctions are temporary and affect only those trapped in the immediate confusion. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, the fight is only beginning.
The first stage this weekend is just making sure that behind closed doors, with no counsel, with no eyes on them, they're not just put back on a plane and sent back to their countries. Once we know that they're in this country, then we can start filing papers and having arguments before the court about the legality of this executive order.
I think ultimately this will be a case that will be broached before the U.S. Supreme Court.
Trump's order states that for future refugee claims, religious minorities will get priority. He seemed to suggest that means Christians first.
If you were a Christian in Syria, it was impossible, at least very tough to get into the United States. And I thought it was very unfair. So we are going to help them.
All its communities.
A Muslim American group is filing a constitutional challenge of the order on the basis this amounts to a Muslim ban, violating the First Amendment.
The Founding Fathers have addressed that there's no religious test in this nation, and with this executive order, it's clear it's targeting one religion.
But the history of courts actually overturning executive orders is thin, especially on immigration matters. And the fact that many Muslim countries are not included in the ban could shield it.
I do not believe a federal court will view this as a Muslim ban. The fact that other Muslim countries are not included is going to move that off the table. And what's going to be left is whether the president has this type of authority. Historically, courts have said that he does.
All those people
and Trump's team knows it.
This is not a Muslim ban, John.
Congress can try to fight the ban, but to overturn an executive order, lawmakers would need a 2/3 majority vote in both chambers. With Congress under Republican control, not likely. So if Trump's team is charging forward, it's because they're confident they can wait out the storm. Trump's move is so seismic, it can't help but send deep shudders through its closest neighbor. There is outrage, yes, but mixed in with that are some in Canada who see it as an opportunity. Senior correspondent Adrian Arsenault has been watching that part of the story.
No, the numbers aren't as big as they are in the U.S., and no, the sense of panic isn't as acute. But politics are personal, and American politics aren't just personal to people in the United States. This is a Calgary rally against President Donald Trump's closed doors.
Refugees are welcome here. From far and wide, oh Canada.
This is Vancouver, a rabbi leading the multi-faith rally outside the airport, a reminder to remember.
Canada cannot stand idly by. We know of our own nation's history when none is too many was our response to Jewish refugees fleeing Nazi Germany.
As the hours go by, more tales emerge of those turned away, which is why Mohammed Rafatinas of Vancouver is unpacking. Born in Iran, he's become an academic star for his work on clean energy, was about to get an award in the United States for it, was granted the visa 3 days ago, a postgraduate work permit, had a folder full of permission letters, thought he'd be okay. He wasn't, was turned back. So who'll pay for his missed flight and what of lost opportunities and connections? He's not dwelling. The kindness of strangers online has helped.
I was angry, but I don't know, since yesterday I felt the amount of support I received made me totally see the story in a different way.
Imagine the worry of Iranian-born Parmida Ismailpour. She was readying to present research to an American conference on the phenomenon of terrorism around elections, of all things, when word came she might get stopped. Yes, she has a Canadian passport, but doesn't believe assurances she could travel smoothly.
It's not clear. Yeah, it's not clear. I'm waiting to see how it plays out. I'm waiting to see if there's any new developments. This is a regime that has shown a blatant disregard for any sort of democratic processes.
She'd considered U.S. grad schools, but maybe staying in Canada is in her future. Many in Canadian business and academics would be thrilled. Here's an open letter from 200 key players in Canada's tech industry. Some represent companies worth billions. They're calling on the federal government to institute an immediate and targeted visa, providing those currently displaced by the U.S. executive order with temporary residence in Canada. In November, Canada accelerated the process to allow tech firms to recruit more quickly, but the industry sees more opportunity right now. Kaz Najadian hasn't had time to sign the petition. He's been busy helping people fill out Canadian visa forms, at least 50 so far. Born in Iran, he has a Canadian passport, is a lawyer, and CEO of a firm doing very well, with offices in Canada and the U.S. Seize the moment, Canada, is his urging.
There are people from all over the world who want to go somewhere, work, pay taxes, and create jobs. Canada should welcome all of these people. These are not the people who put the country at risk.
The new executive order is supposedly temporary. The economic optimists in Canada hope the draw for the best and brightest to this country is more lasting.
So, Wendy, if you look, for example, at Silicon Valley in the United States, World Bank estimates that 70% of the engineers in Silicon Valley are foreign-born. So will some of those people start to look north? Quite possibly. I mean, we know that the next generation of highly skilled workers are globalists. These are people who are not sentimental about countries, so they'll go where the opportunities are. If the United States says no, they might say fine, I'll go to Canada, which is exactly the sort of advantage many are urging Canadians to seize now.
So that's a possible upside, but there's still a lot of anger. What else should we be watching for here in Canada?
We're keeping an eye on Toronto tomorrow. The U.S. consulate has said it will be partially closed tomorrow because it's expecting a large demonstration out front, doesn't want to take any chances. That's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Wow. Thanks so much, Adrienne.
You bet.
Adrienne Arsenault. Coming up on our Sunday Talk, who are the people these policies appeal to? We'll get a taste of that. And this really hit home for one of our panelists. He had to figure out if he's no longer welcome in the U.S. A prominent American Muslim who has tangled with Donald Trump before is speaking out. American Gold Star father Khizr Khan warned that Trump may only succeed in making America a bigger target for terrorism. He also said he hopes Trump learns from how Canada treats immigrants. Khan's son was killed by a suicide bomber in Iraq in 2004. Trump was widely criticized for negative comments about the Khan family on the campaign trail last year. Reaction to the ban extends far beyond the United States. Across the Middle East and Europe, many world leaders were quick to voice their concerns and anger, while some others firmly support Trump's new policy. Here's Derek Stoffel.
These travelers are checking in, but others are being turned away. Take Nail Zain, a Syrian refugee who got an American visa just 2 days ago to join his wife and young son in California.
We are waiting this moment since 2 years. Finally, when we got the chance, they prevent us as Syrian passport holder to travel.
British track star Mo Farah, who was born in Somalia, is worried he'll be blocked from returning to the U.S., where he's lived with his family for the past 6 years. The governments of some of the 7 nations affected reacted angrily to the ban. Iraq's Foreign Affairs Committee called Trump's move unfair. Some politicians want their own travel restrictions on Americans, while others went further, calling for U.S. citizens already in Iraq to be kicked out, a move that could hurt the fight against ISIS. In Iran, the foreign minister tweeted that Trump's ban is a great gift to extremists, while also threatening reciprocal measures against the U.S. Across Europe, criticism of the ban is growing. Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel says fighting terrorism does not justify refusing to admit people fleeing from war. The British Prime Minister Theresa May says she does not agree with the restrictions. But there are also those who back the ban. Geert Wilders, the far-right leader in the Netherlands and frontrunner for Prime Minister, congratulated Trump. He tweeted that no more immigration from any Islamic country is exactly what we need. And praise from the office of the President of the Czech Republic, who says Trump is protecting his country. While there has been confusion over the specifics of the American ban, at airports across the Middle East, airlines and security officials are complying, meaning the list of those barred temporarily from the U.S. is only getting longer. Derek Stoffel, CBC News, Jerusalem.
Another place where Donald Trump's policies have been roundly criticized, Hollywood. His controversial executive order is having an impact on awards season, with at least one world-renowned filmmaker caught up in the chaos. Zuleka Nathu has more.
This red carpet is for the Screen Actors Guild Awards, but many are looking ahead to the Academy Awards.
Iran, Oscar Farhadi.
One Oscar nominee, Asghar Farhadi, an Iranian director, is saying that he won't attend the Academy Awards this year, whether he gets an exemption to the travel ban or not, because he stands with his people in condemning an us versus them mentality. It's not surprising that celebrities inside would want to weigh in on the travel ban.
Right now, they are, on my humble opinion, that this administration is playing the game of the terrorists, which is to close border and create fear.
It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It's dangerous.
I think it's truly appalling. And I think what is so wonderful is to see the amount of people that are turning out to protest, to show their strength and their support for their fellow human beings.
The Film Academy, which is behind the Oscars, spoke out yesterday, calling the situation extremely troubling. And tensions could well grow in the lead-up to the Academy Awards next month. Zuleka Nathu, CBC News, Los Angeles.
So what about the people who aren't making noise tonight? The U.S. voters who think Trump is making all the right moves. Straight ahead, we'll get some perspective on our Sunday Talk.